Teaching 78. 1. The clarity and simplicity of my teaching has inspired in you encouragement to take the first steps in the third area, and you have now begun to stumble over my divine phrases. You begin to realize that it is a pleasure for the heart to remove the pain of a fellow man and give him love and charity. 2. Do not call me unjust if for an instant the suffering and ordeals hover over you. You should know that they strengthen the spirit, and that besides, these people have been an instrument of my will throughout the eras to present to mankind examples through them. Be strong so that in your vicissitudes you can give proof of love and obedience in the face of my will. 3. Analyze and understand all the lessons I am giving you, and do not make bad use of them, because you will return with your garments tattered and your heart filled with bitterness, like the prodigal son of the parable. Make from your heart a granary and store the divine seed there. When the time comes, I shall make a calling to mankind, inviting them to come to this nation, which will open its doors to the outsiders, to those travelers who seek peace, light, and health. And the doors of your heart shall open like those of the second Jerusalem, the spiritual city whiter than the fields of snow, whose doors are open since eternity, waiting for the children of the Father. 4. Great is the spiritual mission of the inhabitants of this nation. Therefore, prepare your heart in order to give lodging to every brother who approaches you, regardless of race, color, or condition. 5. Your spirit still has not been able to understand all the magnitude of the revelation that he has received during this period. But your heart has a presentiment that something great has descended among you. Your world of yesterday has disappeared since you listened to my word, because your egotism was touched by it. That world was small because it was limited to your dear ones, to what you possess on earth, and to the imperfect concept that you have of what the law of God is. Now your horizon has extended toward the infinite, and there you foresee an unknown world that you will get to conquer through your spiritual elevation. Now you see in each human being a brother, and in each man a son of my divinity. Today you see the life as a step in the infinite ladder of your elevation toward the Creator. Now you know that those who suffer in this valley of tears have not been forgotten by God, and that all receive the light of His love. 6. Disciples, remain in the peacefulness that I give you. Do not allow the world with its temptations to snatch it away from you, because you will have to pray for your fellow men, and how will you be able to think about them when peace does not exist in your heart? Overcome the obstacles in your existence and do not consider them as invincible. The strength within man is great. What you have lacked is faith. Persevere in faith, in your good deeds, and with them you will move mountains from their place. 7. Do not consider your life to be sterile, believing that you have not carried out great deeds. If it is unsoiled, you must have done something righteous, because I have said to you that through the first ones, the last ones will recognize me. Accept that mission with pleasure. 8. I receive complaints from some hearts when they explain to me that among their dear ones are the unbelievers who have twisted the pathway. They tell me that they have spoken much to them and have achieved nothing. I say that you must learn to speak with deeds, and also through silence, that you must be intuitive with reason in order not to be untimely. If you prepare yourselves, if you know how to persevere, your steady look will become penetrating, and you shall not let go that opportune moment when you must give that heart the last touch with your chisel. Your triumph will show that those whom you considered strong in their stubbornness, in reality were weak. Put into practice my divine advice, and soon you will give testimony of my truth. I will grant you this charity because I have more to give than what you ask of me. 9. Among your people are those who have greatly torn apart my work with their tongue and have made your heart bleed. I shall not avenge you because my justice is perfect. However, I will soon come to touch them, for it is the time when every eye shall see me. 10. Ask yourselves, Would you be here listening to me if suffering had not touched you? There were some who blasphemed, complained, and denied me. But the pain was stronger than them, and it humbled them. Then they arrived before the presence of my manifestation and wept with repentance. Now they are those who blessed that pain that made them come to me. 11. It is up to you to pray for those who now deny me. Make them understand that I have come in search of your spirit, because I behold him thirsty and hungry for my divine essence. I do not seek your physical body, because it has on earth all that it needs. 12. I must tell you that you should not believe that it is indispensable for the spirit to have a human body and life on earth in order to evolve. However, the lessons that he receives in this world are certainly of great benefit toward his perfection. 13. The flesh helps the spirit in his evolution, in his experiences, in his expiation, and in his struggles. This is the mission that corresponds to him, and you can confirm it with this manifestation of my divinity through man, whose faculty I have come to avail myself, utilizing him as an instrument to transmit my message. Understand that not only the spirit is destined for the spiritual, even what is most insignificant within the material has been created for spiritual objectives. 14. I have come to give a reminder and a calling to your spirit, so that by overcoming the influence of the material which has dominated him, he can make his light reach the heart and mind, utilizing his gift of intuition. 15. This light signifies for your spirit the path towards his freedom. This doctrine comes to offer him the means to elevate himself above the human existence and to be the guide for all his works, lord over his feelings, and not a slave of lower passions or a victim of weaknesses and miseries. 16. When the spirit allows himself to be dominated by the influence of whatever surrounds him on earth, he comes to identify himself to such an extent with his physical body that he forgets his true nature. He withdraws from the spiritual life, to the point of becoming strange to him, and that is why when his body dies, he has to become perturbed or confused. 17. How easily the body dies, but how difficult it is for the spirit who was unable to prepare himself and be liberated from his confusion. 18. While some in their confusion remain close to their dead body, others, conserving in their spirit the impressions of their physical body, continue believing to be humans without being able to elevate themselves toward the mansion that belongs to them and remain bound to those whom they loved in the world. 19. There is no more bitter cup on earth, nor a more intense pain than that of confused spirits. Their setbacks, their not being able to understand what happens around them, their remorse, their nostalgia of what they left behind, their solitude, the silence and the helplessness to elevate themselves, constitute the fire where they will be purifying until they attain the light. 20. Do you believe it would be inexact if I say to you that millions of spirits depart in a state of confusion from this world? It is the result of the ignorance of men, due to their lack of meditation and prayer. 21. My doctrine of the second era revealed to men the spiritual life. But instead of analyzing my lessons and fulfilling my precepts, they created religions around my doctrine, confining themselves to the compliance of rituals and material ceremonies, which did not enlighten their spirit more, but did withdraw them from the pathway of their fulfillment. 22. Among you are those who ask me if upon leaving this existence they will fall into darkness. To this I answer that if they did not analyze my word or put it into practice, it would be of no use to have been among these multitudes listening to my doctrine of light. 23. What the Spirit sows will be what he will reap. That is the law and justice. 24. I, your Savior, have pointed out to you in all eras the right path, and I have revealed the means to avoid pain, confusion, and darkness. 25. Now I come once again among you in fulfillment of that mission, making light along your uncertain paths, awakening you from your lethargy, reminding your spirit that a new mansion awaits him which he has to reach, prepared to be able to inhabit and enjoy it forever. 26. I come to you to awaken and ask you, who among you is a disciple by his own free will? No one. It is I who has called you. So listen to my word. Again, you have had to be on earth various times. Between one incarnation and another, I have granted you a truce for meditation and preparation toward a new life. 27. The spirit, when he is within the body, shares with its fatigue, and it is necessary for him to have a rest after a struggle, as well as a meditation in order to form a plan that he must follow before undertaking a new battle. Without those truces or stops along your pathway, you would progress very little along your way. However, it is necessary for a clean and pure doctrine to teach you these lessons with full clarity, so that your heart, convinced by this truth, will have some knowledge of the reason why many of the phenomena and events which, without my revelation, you would never manage to understand. Within my charity there is endless time, life, the destiny of all. Nothing escapes my power. 28. First, you knew me as an inexorable Father in his justice regarding your faults. That Father became before you into the most gentle and loving of masters. Nevertheless, you were unable to interpret his teachings properly because you believed that he punished with eternal fire those who did not love him. Now I have come to show you that the Father does not reject his children only because they do not love him. Now I come to demonstrate to you that the divine love does not have any limitations, and that love and that justice are manifested through the law of reincarnation that I have come to clarify to you. Now you will understand that by means of that divine law there is not a fault, however grave it may be, which merits an eternal punishment for the spirit. But in order to come to me, first you have to correct that fault. 29. What would be achieved on your part if I truly gave you as a punishment eternal fire? You would always blaspheme eternally against the God whom you would judge as unjust, cruel, and vengeful. 30. My obligation as a father is to give you at every step an occasion to perfect yourselves, teaching you the way through perfect lessons. If I who has taught you to forgive and love your enemies and have told you, do unto your brethren what you have seen that I have done to you, would I be giving you an example of it when you saw that I punished with an eternal punishment those who did not love me? Do you believe that I do not have the power to make myself loved by those who have hated me? These are the ones to whom I give, not an eternal punishment, but a sufficient time so that from them will sprout forth the light, regeneration, and finally love. In like manner that one waits for the soil to become fertile so that in it the seed will germinate. Thus I expect for you to comply with my precept which tells you, love one another. 31. Who is able to recognize your spirit in this world? Not the ministers of religions, because if they do not know about themselves, the less they would know about others. Your parents, with all their intuition, are barely able to cross the threshold of the heart. Mankind knows little, very little about the spirit, because they have surrounded this light with mystery. But the mystery does not exist, only the ignorance. Then who will in the future guide the spirit of mankind along enlightened paths? Who will be able to save it from great confusions? Only my doctrine, this doctrine that I shall record within your spirit. From it will sprout forth a light that will show you the pathway, a voice that will guide you. But be aware that he who does not heed that voice that is lovingly felt within his heart is denying the beginning of his creation, because in the instant of his being born from my spirit, I kindled in him that divine spark which is the conscience, so that it will repeat to him throughout his existence, that he is my son. 32. Verily I say to you that sin and confusion in the spirit is fleeting in the face of eternity. Therefore the purification and judgment cannot be eternal. 33. Now is the time that you will become aware of what you have done with your spirit, and the wealth of teaching that you have not taken advantage of it. The voice of your conscience is clearer and stronger. It speaks to you of the past, the present, and prepares you for the future. Learn to recognize that voice, because from there I speak to you, and when you listen, have faith in it. Woe betide to you if you doubt. That voice will always guide you toward righteousness. But if you hear a voice guiding you toward evil, that is not from your conscience. It is the voice of your passions that inspire in you an influence of materialism. 34. Tomorrow people will fight you for believing in this doctrine, because in the same way you hurry and prepare yourselves to analyze this word, in like manner men also prepare themselves to contend against you. They will perform miracles in knowledge and human power to demonstrate to you that they possess the truth. Without display, you will perform spiritual miracles with your deeds of love toward your brethren. 35. Elijah, the foreigner, again announces the spiritual presence of the Father. The arrival of the Spirit of Truth who clarifies and reveals the mystery of reincarnation. 36. I give you this lesson, because the world will besiege you and will not allow you a way out of the east, nor from the west, nor from the north, nor the south. Then you will make use of the power I have given you to free yourselves from your oppressors. 37. Do not fear, because you are not the only ones in the world who have sought the freedom of the Spirit. At this time men are rising in search of the light, the truth, and the elevation of the Spirit. 38. Remember Elijah who gave testimony of the true God during the first era. Listen. 39. The people of Israel fell into idolatry, and they worshipped a pagan god. Elijah, in order to convince them of their mistake and their impiety, said to the prophets of the idol in the presence of the people congregated on Mount Carmel, prepare a holocaust with wood and upon it place a sacrifice. I will also prepare another holocaust. Invoke the names of your gods, and I shall invoke the name of my Lord and God. And he who responds with fire to consume the sacrifice will be recognized as the true God. 40. The idol remained deaf to the pleas of their priests. Elijah said to them, shout louder so that your God can hear you, so that he might awaken. Perhaps he might be asleep. When the idolaters considered their efforts as useless, the prophet devoted himself to prayer, imploring his Father to manifest himself as the living and true God. Elijah had barely finished pronouncing his prayer when a ray of lightning fell from the heavens and consumed the sacrifice of the holocaust. 41. The people recognized the deception of the prophets of Baal, and at the same time recognized that Jehovah, the God of Elijah, was the only and true God. 42. That same Elijah of that era promised in those times is once again among you. The divine master made that promise during the second era, and Elijah has arrived at the opportune moment. 43. Allow Elijah to be within each one of you, above all when you are being subjected to an ordeal. But then you must remember that Elijah is all love, faith, and humility, so that you may imitate him, and then the prophecy will emerge from you. 44. Many forms of idolatry exist in the present era. The science, the war, the gold, religious fanaticism, and pleasures are some of many deities that men kneel before them to pay homage. 45. Be nourished by my word so that you may be strong. Behold that you will have to hear many words contrary to what I have taught you, and none of them should confuse nor make you doubt. 46. The book is open. Read from it, because if your Father is a book of wisdom, you too can also be a book of teaching and experience for your brethren. 47. The life that surrounds you is one of many pages of the divine book. That is why many times I have said to you, learn the daily lessons that life offers you. During this period, you will have to be the good counselors who will speak with words and also with deeds. Would you be able to speak of regeneration if your brethren would surprise you in inconvenient places? Would you be able to teach them to live in peace if they would discover that in your home harmony does not exist? 48. I behold that many hearts of these people still slumber without wanting to understand that the day draws near when I shall cease to give you my lessons by this means. And when they see that the book has been closed, they will weep their incomprehension. But then it will be too late. 49. Fortunate are those who prepare themselves and are disposed to obey the will of their master, because when the new phase begins, they will know how to communicate with me by means of their thoughts, and they will exclaim, Father, your book continues to be open. 50. I have compared my word with the seed of wheat. I have sowed it with infinite love within your heart. The heart is the soil where it begins to germinate because it is endowed with sensitivity, but its impressions are transmitted to the Spirit, who is the one who truly safeguards my word. Therefore, even if the heart is forgetful of the Father or stops beating for existence, that seed will remain safeguarded within the Spirit, and the moment will come when it will germinate. That moment can be either near or distant, according to the awakening of the Spirit to the love of the Creator. But since the spiritual evolution pertains to eternity, there is no impatience in the Father. You are the ones who, as human beings or as spirits, should hasten your footsteps in order to prevent the painful experiences by means of a practice of righteousness. 51. The book of the divine wisdom, sealed with 7 seals, was opened by the Lamb. It was the love of the divine master toward men which allowed the mysteries of his arcanum to be revealed to them. The 6th seal manifests its contents during this period, and it speaks of profound teachings. It allows you to behold the future of your world, and it opens the way toward spiritual eternity. 52. I have taught you that through the prayer, wisdom will be acquired. But that is no reason that I want for you to prolong your prayers. I have asked you for a prayer of 5 minutes, and by that I mean to say for you to pray briefly so that during those moments you will truly surrender yourselves to your Father, and the rest of your time you can dedicate it to your spiritual and material duties toward your brethren. 53. Sow with love, charity, and good deeds the pathway of your existence, and when you leave the flesh, to free your spirit from it. Instead of descending into the valleys of expiation, he will elevate himself toward those mansions where he will gather among spirits of light all the fruits of his sowing. If you do not conduct yourselves in that manner, you will reap suffering along your way, and for that you cannot blame me, since I, having created everything around you, did not create suffering. It is your creation. It is the result of your imperfections. If I permit that you endure suffering, it is because I know that by recognizing the result of your deeds you will be able to perfect yourselves, because by its fruit you will recognize the tree. 54. Disciples. Form an album with my word, with which you will bring joy to your spirit, and tomorrow convey to your brethren this testimony and this pleasure. My word will reach the confines of the world, and it will touch all spirits, transforming the life of men. My word will realize the miracle for peace to return to this earth. 55. If the elements turn hostile and severe, it is because no harmony exists between them and men. When mankind lives in accordance with the obedience to my laws by which all other creatures live, they will recognize in this planet the image of the eternal life, that paradise that will accommodate in its bosom those who will purify and elevate themselves through the path of love that Christ points out at every step. 56. Now the people of Israel are re-arising on earth. Today they still live in bondage, but my light is liberating them. Before them the pathway and the divine promise appear, inviting them to put on their sandals, pick up their staff to pray before Jehovah, and confine themselves in the wilderness in search of the divine voice, the law of God and his miracles. 57. Their awakening has already begun. You have heard the voice of Elijah, the new liberator. He has brought you to the side of the Mount of the New Zion that during this third era rises before your spirit, so that you may listen to the living voice of the Lord through a human faculty. 58. Before the divine voice you have remained in ecstasy listening to it, but it has announced to you that its manifestation will be brief, in order for you to arise and go along in your journey that you have already begun, which will guide your spirit toward the gateways of the promised land. 59. In other parts of the world, the people are awakening because Elijah is knocking upon their doors. 60. I have named you Azrael because you will gather the essence of the revelations of the third era, because you shall be the ones who will give my word its spiritual and just interpretation, and because the history of those people will be repeated in you in their audios, struggles and conflicts in order to reach the promised land and finally their triumph, which was a conquest and possession of an ideal. 61. You must know that you are Azrael. Keep in mind that you are the people of God. Be possessors of that fact so that you may be stronger in the long journey. But do not proclaim that you are sons of Israel, because you will not be understood. Rather, they will mock at your words. Who shall be those who will discover that the new Israel is so because of its spirit? 62. Safeguard this knowledge revealed by your Father within your heart. But when the scrutinizers and the foolish ones come before you and ask, "Are you the people of Israel?" answer them as I did to the Pharisees and the foolish. When they asked me if I was the Son of God, I answered them, "You have said so." 63. After I have said this, I want you to know that these people who have barely begun to congregate will be inviting other people along their way, people to unite with them, inviting them with examples more than with words. They shall be cleaning the road of thistles in order for the last ones to find a pathway prepared, because I make this calling to all the peoples and nations of the world, because the new people of Israel will include men of all races, classes and creeds. 64. Those who believe that the true people of Israel were those of the first era will be mistaken. Those people were only an image of what the true people of God would be in the course of time, when all men will be united, loving their Father in their own brethren. Thus the law of the first era stated, "Love thy God with all your heart and spirit, and love thy fellow men as thyself." Likewise Christ said it during the second era, teaching mankind the new commandment, "Love one another." To those who comply with the maximum precepts, Elijah has announced to them that during this period they shall see the Father in all his splendor. 65. Each one will be entrusted with a mission, and his gifts will be revealed to him, so that he will have within him the means to sow righteousness and to cast the light. During that period, a mission was also entrusted to each tribe, and their gifts were revealed to them, so that all of them as a whole would offer the Father a fruit of submission, harmony, and faith. 66. Beloved people, I am providing you with all that you will need for the journey. Your knapsack will be filled with my blessings, and you shall not be fearful that they will end. However, if a shortage should occur to test your faith, do not forget that Israel, during the first era, learned from Moses that he who puts his trust in the Father will never perish. 67. Be watchful and pray, Israel, O people who are designated to carry throughout the world the banner of spirituality. Learn to carry the tabernacle within your heart, the ark within your spirit, and the law within your conscience. 68. Go forth along the pathway, announcing to your brethren that the hour of freedom has arrived, and that the voice which is heard in the silence of the night is the voice of Elijah, who goes forth from one end to the other in the world, awakening all spirits who slumber. Do not fear the ridicule and mockery of your brethren. But if the world hates you, be reminded that they hated me before they did you. My peace be with you.